Our theme for today is putting your best foot forward, positioning yourself to successful recruitment and career projection. What an exciting theme. Thank you so much, CESA. I hope this is going to be worth everybody's while. Before we proceed, I'd like to just remind everybody and everybody that's just joined in to kindly ensure that their sound is muted and the videos are off so that the webinar is smooth. The session is going to run up until 16:07. But if we have more questions to answer and people are still needing to engage, we will push it up until 16:20 to 16:30. We will see, and Godfrey will direct us there. Okay, so I am going to now just explain the running order of this webinar, introduce our guests, our very exciting panelists that we have here. So the topics that are being covered today are, the first one is learn from the journey of future leaders or role models. The second one is job seeking, shine in an interview, learn how to craft an exceptional CV. The third one is be active, be part of the inclusion and diversity. The fourth one is conventional and expanded engineering roles. This could include expanding skills to other professions and entrepreneurship. Okay, so before I proceed, I would like to see everybody engaging on the chat box. Let me know you are here. Let me know you're excited. Say hello, type something, say we are ready. I can go through the program. And yeah, let me know that you are with me. Can I see some hellos on the chat box? Hello, I see Claire saying hello, everyone. Thank you, Claire. If I could see more hands there. Ngosikona is saying hello. I see you. Godfrey, Makhethi. Makhethi is saying hello, Caesars and Snare. Botlale, hi, everyone. Okay, so who's here? Hello, everyone from Durban. Hey, everyone from Yankho. Excellent is saying hello, hello, hello. And Verity is saying, hi guys. So, okay, I can confirm that we have people here and we are ready to rock and roll. So to make this very exciting and let it be personalized to your needs, I encourage you to please drop your comments, drop your questions. And as our panelists are going through the topics that I've just discussed, ensure that whatever you need, you jot it down on the chat box, and we have a designated time for questions and answer, and we will attend to those when we get there. Before I continue, I would like to introduce our amazing speakers that I have today. In the running order, I will just announce the guest, and the guest will open the video and say hello to everybody, okay? And then I move on to the next one. Okay. Yankho, I have noted your message that just came through now. Thank you very much for that. Okay, our first guest that we have here is Engineer Sibongile Vilakazi, who is Head of Property Development, Eswatini Housing Board. Give it up for Sibongile Vilakazi. Sibongile, won't you come on stage and say hello to everybody? Can we show Sibongile some love? Everybody on the chat box, say hello, Sibongile. Welcome, Sibongile. Whoop,
Hi,
whoop,
thank you.
Great, thank you for being here, Sibongile. The next person that we have is Engineer Tafatwa Mukwena. He is the Chief Technology Officer of Baigan. I hope I'm pronouncing the company name correct. Tafatwa, if you can come on screen and say hello. Can I see some love on the chat box for Tafatwa as he comes to stage to greet us? Hi, Tafatwa.
Thanks for the great introduction. Yeah, looking forward to today and hopefully helping out and answering some questions. Yep.
Great, thank you so much. And moving on to our next panelist is Kethiwe Mofokeng, our fabulous confidence coach. Welcome on stage, Kethiwe, our confidence coach. Can I see some love for Kethiwe on the screens? Can I see some hello, Kethiwe? Kethiwe, the stage is yours, madam.
Hello, everybody. It's the confidence coach all the way from a faraway beach. Yes, that's the life that I'm living. I'm ready to do this to help you ace your interviews. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Give it up for Kethiwe as she walks out of the stage. Thank you so much, Kethi. Next, we have engineer Claire Bleazard. She is a senior engineer of digital system integration at Hedge. Give it up for Claire as she comes to say hello. Can I see some love for Claire?
Hi, thank you for the introduction. I'm very excited to be here today and hopefully we can have a good discussion around some people's questions. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Claire. And last but not least, we have our gorgeous engineer, Yankho Banda, the transport engineer at AMCE, and she is the CESA Young Professionals Forum chairperson. Give it up for Yankho and show some love on the chat box for Yankho.
Hi, Claire. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Sneh. Looking forward to engaging with our YPs and just sharing some of our insights. Sorry, I'm coming from my car.
That's great.
Like
we appreciate you wherever you are. Great. Okay, so I have introduced all our guests. Thank you so much for showing face and saying hello. And thank you so much for the love, everybody. We appreciate the love that you are showing them. We encourage this engagement even on the chat box. Now I will give it up to Godfrey from CESA, who will run a poll for us. Godfrey, if I can bring you to the stage. Can we show some love for Godfrey? Okay, we have this. That I have the poll popping up on my side.
Yes, if we could all participate.
And I have submitted my vote.
Okay,
I
we're
hope
sitting on
everybody
70%. If other colleagues can participate, 73. 73.
Come, guys. You can just do those polls. Yes, it's just one click and submit.
Okay, it looks like we will stop at 73%, and I am showing the results.
Thank you so much. Would you want me to call out the results, or everybody is happy seeing the results on their screen? Okay, thank you so much, Godfrey. We are seeing the results. It looks like majority of the participants that are here are our consulting engineers. Thank you so much for the participants. We will have more polls. I encourage you to please participate. We are now moving on to our program because this is exactly supposed to be 67 minutes. Okay, the very first one on our agenda is learn from the journey of future leaders and our role models. I will bring on to stage Yankho, and she will discuss with Tafadzwa on this topic. Yankho, if you can open your video, and the stage is yours, madam.
All right, thank you very much, Cordelia. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join us today for this session. And as Cordelia indicated, the whole point is that we're trying to inspire the next person and just to motivate each other as young professionals. I'm a registered professional engineer practicing in the consulting engineering space. My professional life began in 2012 with a company called Malani Padiachi and Associates. And since coming into industry, I'd like to believe I've grown in leaps and bounds. I've been a part of CESA since my inception into industry, where I got to meet some amazing young professionals, like-minded young professionals who have inspired me to grow and not limit myself, to think beyond where I've been. So I think for me, just as an opener, it's just to say, as young professionals, like, always be willing to put your hand up and just make yourself visible. Join organizations like CESA and just participate, but that's another later session. So that's a bit about me. I think I'll hand over to Tav before we engage with everybody else. I don't know if there's anything I missed, Cordelia.
No, there's nothing that you have missed. If we could move over to Tafatswa. Thank you so much, Yankho, for that. That was beautiful.
Cool. Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Tafatswa Mokoena. Everyone calls me Taf. And depending on how long you've been around the YP's environment, you would have bumped into me somewhere along the line. I was in YP. I'm now in OP. But always interested in seeing how we can help each other grow. No matter how old you are, there is always space to grow. So that's an interesting part of maybe what we'll be discussing today. What I'm going to do is a way of sort of summarizing my journey. I think it's a 67 minutes, and obviously I think we should probably end up going a little bit longer than that. But maybe to share my journey, I'm going to share with you in the chat a link to my LinkedIn. And through that, I think it's a pretty straightforward way to sort of see where a person has been in their career. And if LinkedIn isn't something you're using, then maybe that's lesson number one. It's quite a good platform as professionals, as people building careers, to start using platforms like that. And then in that same chat, I'm going to drop. I did a podcast where someone asked me to tell my journey in a little bit more detail. And if you are really interested, then maybe you can listen to that. But very specifically, it talks about daring to dream. And for me, that's something I'm quite passionate about, where I feel that many of us, as we go through our journeys, end up forgetting that it is our dreams that give us the energy to achieve big things. So if you do have a chance to listen to it, I think it'll at least give you some things to think about. But hopefully you'll have time to do that. So I've dropped that into the chat, and you can always check those things later. Maybe then, as a quick summary of that, just in case you don't have that opportunity to go to that, I studied engineering in Cape Town at the University of Cape Town. On graduating, I moved to a company in Pretoria called Bigin, and then I've worked for Bigin in 2 stints. I left them and worked for Gib for a short period of time as well. But in total, I'm probably, where am I now? In my 14th year of work. I'm a professional engineer, predominantly having studied engineering. I was in municipal services and township developments. These days, I'm in water and wastewater treatment. But I was recently asked, what do you do on one of these forms that you have to fill in? And to be honest, I struggled to answer the question as engineer, simply because of the various things that I do. The way I divide my time in my profession and my work means that I do not really get around to designing anything. I don't use my mathematics skills the way I used to, but I use the way that I've been taught to think as an engineer to help run a business, to organize teams that deliver on a business's objectives, and also to try and make our organization more meaningful in our ability to deliver infrastructure, which is something I'm very interested in. I think is particularly useful to the world. So yeah, along the way, we'll probably get into some of the details around those shifts and changes that you can make as you go through your career. So I still work in engineering. My work doesn't necessarily involve only engineering, and then we can discuss those as we go along. I hope that's a suitable beginning to the discussion on journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Tafatswa. That was very informative. Thank you for sharing. And I would like to encourage everybody to keep the chat box alive. If you've got questions for Tafatswa, if you've got questions for Yankho, keep them flowing on the Zapata, on the chat box. Zapata, thank you so much for the information that you have shared on the chat box. I hope everybody has seen it. But now we are moving on to see if there's any questions and answers from that, which I don't think so right now, but if they are, can we see them on the chat box? I don't see any right now, and as we are moving forward with the program, I will be noting the questions. Thank you so much. And we are moving on to the next line of our agenda, which is job seeking, shine in an interview, learn how to create an exceptional CV. I will now bring onto stage Makhethi, talking about shine in an interview. Makhethi, if you can come onto stage, we welcome you again, madam. Coach, our confidence coach, yay.
Thank you so much, Cordelia. You don't have to ask me twice to come on stage, hey? I live for such. Thank you so much. And this is actually my favorite topic, hey, when it comes to the career space, whether it's career entry or career development. I absolutely thrive on helping people with confidence coaching areas when it comes to shining in an interview. So I'm just going to mention 3 different things that you can practice that can assist you to shine in an interview. And then thereafter, I'll give over to Sibongile to deal more in depth with the CV. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when preparing for the interview, because I'm just going to assume that we're doing the right thing, everybody, preparing for an interview. Now, remember, this is any type of interview, right? Because it's a snippet from my program called How to Ace Any Interview. So it's not just employment, right? So the first thing you need to do is to accept the fact that you know enough, right? Usually people think, you sound like, you're smoking grass or tea bags, my kids. What do you mean I know enough? There's always another candidate that probably knows more than what I do. Sure, fair enough, but hear me out. So what I mean by you need to accept that you know enough is the following. There are things in your life, right, that you know very little about compared to others that you know a lot about, right? For example, myself, I know a lot about helping people shine and be their best, and I know a lot about helping people to adjust to different environments, meet strangers and the like. And I know very little about heart surgery. I know very little about flying a plane. So I'm sure that if you also take 2 minutes now and think about those counterparts of what do you know very little about, so your heart surgery, your flying a plane, and what do you know a lot about, so whatever your meeting strangers is and the like, right? So what I mean by that is, should you be invited into an interview, into a session to come and speak about what you know about that area that you feel you know nothing about. So in this case, they would be inviting me to come and talk to them about what I know about heart surgery or what I know about flying a plane. Obviously, you're thinking, this is the worst thing ever. How can they do that to me, right? Right. So say right in comments. Let me see if you are here alive. Your phones are not in the toilet while you're in the lounge. I'm checking the register. Okay, fabulous. So remember, making a drastic example now to help you see how you need to accept that you always know enough. Fabulous. I'm glad we're together, guys. So now I'm thinking, what? They want me to go speak about heart surgery. So I have one of 2 options there. The first option is to get there and start talking as follows. The truth is, I know nothing about heart surgery, guys. All I know is that you need a surgeon, and all I know is that there'll be somebody who has a heart with an issue that we need to sort out, because I don't actually know a lot about heart surgery, because I don't know as much as a heart surgeon would know. I don't even know what equipment is used there. You can either do that, right? And the issue with that is that you are just highlighting your lack. You are just highlighting the reason why it shouldn't be you. Or you could walk in there and take this, it's not even 2 out of 10 that I know about heart surgery, this 0.5, that's how bad it is, 0.5 that you know out of 10, and make the most out of the 0.5, right? So drive it home. So you get into that room and you're saying, thank you so much for this platform. So when it comes to heart surgery, I'm excited to share with you that you need to ensure that the surgery room you're operating from is sterile from the ceiling to the floor. And you need to make sure that all the equipment you're using is also sterile, because this is a very vital procedure that's about to take place. It's not just a vital bodily organ, but it's essentially a bodily organ that carries your whole life, right? And it's always, always comforting to know that whenever heart surgery takes place, it's always done by somebody who went to school and studied and became an expert in exactly what they're doing. Because the last thing you need is somebody who's unqualified and then they're cutting the wrong arteries and veins in the heart. Isn't that right? So now, what did I do? I made my 0.5 out of 10 sound awesome, even though I didn't give the 10 out of 10. Do you follow? Type follow before we go on to the next thing. Guys, I love the chat box. That's just my life. Fabulous, fabulous. And guys, while I'm talking and while Sibongile is talking, if you do have questions about this section, just drop them in the comment section and Cordelia will take us through them, right? Okay, so that's the one. You always know enough. In other words, go in there and make what you have shine. Make the best out of it. Don't highlight what you don't know. That's the one part. The second part, especially with something such as engineering, I didn't even know this, guys. I didn't know how technical engineering was until I had until 2019, when I started having people in your industry come to me for conference coaching for various areas in their life, you know, profession and the like. Your career and career space are very technical spaces. So that means that chances are when you go into an interview and they ask you a technical question, the technical answer is the answer. Like if you're being asked, what do I have here at the beach? What do I have here at the beach? If you're being asked, oh, here's one. I love this one. So if you're being asked, how can you solve the problem of this man being naked, right? And the process you're all following is this man must be put in clothes. That's the answer. You can't change that answer, right? So what you need to do is to know how to make that answer sell you. So instead of just giving the technical answer of, yes, the man is naked, I'm going to put him in clothes. So what? Your colleagues are all going to say that. You're going to say it in a way that sells you, right? So start explaining how you view the problem of this guy being naked because they're telling you that the man is naked, and how you ended up deciding to clothe him instead of just giving the technical answer of put him in clothes. Okay, and also personalize it. For example, I discovered that the slimmer the man is, the easier it is to put on less garments on him. And chances are the bigger he is, the more necessary it is to put on more garments on him, right? Which is a horrible example, Makhethi. But do you guys get what I mean by personalize your technical answer? Type get. Then I can go to point 3. Of course, you should be laughing, guys, because that was a horrible example, but you do get what I mean. I'm happy you do. Only 2 people got that, guys. That was a horrible example, Makhethi. Okay, 3. So there's hope. Okay, and then the third thing. So these 2 things. The one, you need to accept that you always know enough, and then the second one, you need to make the answer relevant to you and showcase the best out of what you have to, how you got to the solution, right? Even though the answer is technical, it's the same for everyone. So those you do in preparation for the interview. So the third thing I'm going to mention about is what you do as the interview happens, right? So you're about to walk in, but you can feel that you are flipping, shaking. You, for some reason, everything you've prepared seems to be leaving your mind. You know that situation where you're like, oh my gosh, they're about to evaluate me, etc., etc. You need to remember 2 things during that part, right? One, why are you at that interview? Okay, so this speaks to what's your mandate for that interview. And usually when I ask people that and I say, what's your mandate for the interview? The first thing they go to is they start talking about the mandate of the interviewer. They're saying they coming to interview to assess my compatibility to the candidate they want. They want to see if I'm the person that they're looking for. No, you're answering the wrong question. The question I'm asking is, why are you at the interview? So that means that you must have your own mandate. In other words, I'm walking in there for them to know that should they want an effective facilitator for their trainings, Makhethi is the one. I'm walking in there for them to know that should they want somebody who is able to simplify difficult concepts for a larger audience, Makhethi is the person. Because if you've set that mandate, as soon as you walk in there, you're feeling nervous, you remind yourself of why you are there. Because usually what makes you nervous is because you're thinking of their mandates, they're going to assess me, they're going to shift your focus to why I am there. When you remember why you are there, you calm down and it's easier to flow, right? And the second thing that helps with that is just a physical exercise. When they ask you something and you can feel that your breath is coming in and out at the same time, when you're that nervous, guys, you're exhaling and inhaling all in half a second, you can just calmly tell them, I'm feeling a bit anxious right now. Can you please give me a second just to collect myself? Even if it's just after someone asked you a question or just before they ask you a question, while the interview is happening, if you can feel that the nerves are running away with you, they are human. They are doing what their job title requires them to do. So then you just say, Claire Sbongile, Yankho, can you please just give me a few seconds to collect myself because my nerves are running away with me. Thank you. Right, you can even ask for a glass of water. And that's it from my side, unless there are any questions. Thank you so much, Cordelia and Sbongile.
Great. Thank you so much, Kethiwe. That was beautiful. I enjoyed the example that you used. And I see people engaging here saying that they got it, and they loved it. Thank you so much, Kethiwe. I'd like to actually bring in our leadership, Yankho, to please share something about her CV that got her the AMCE gig. If you are available to talk about that a bit, Yankho, giving you just a few seconds.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, thank you very much. So yeah, I've been asked to just share my story. So currently, I work for a company called AM Consulting Engineers. I moved from MPA, which I said I started my professional career. I've been working for AMCE for the past 2.5 years. So I think everybody who knows me will tell you that I love color and I love everything African inspired. So what I do now as well is that I help other people in terms of amending or reviewing their CVs. And one thing I always tell people is do not be afraid of color. Because you must remember, as Kethiwe indicated, and as Cordelia also indicated, a CV is like it speaks for you before you actually go for the interview. So make yourself stand out from everybody else. With Kethiwe example, I think with the fat man and the bigger person and the smaller person, what she was trying to say is that don't give a conventional answer. So it's just like with the CV, don't just present the normal curriculum vitae, as it was called. Look, there's a lot of free resumes that you can download. So with me, what I did is that I actually updated my resume before getting the AMCE gig. Is that I looked around, I found one that I liked. It had a bit of color on it. I changed it, and some tips that I can give in terms of CVs is that always put your latest achievements or professional developments first. So if you're starting towards a master's, you'll always put that first, not your high school career. You're always trying to sell yourself. So always put what you are doing currently first. So that was one of the things that I did. And I also try to showcase the projects where I was involved in a lot. So it's not really about how much the value is, but it's about what were you doing on those projects. So like as Tef did when he introduced himself, he indicated this is what he is doing, but he says now he's struggling to explain what is it that he's doing. But sometimes you find that when you write, it's easy to say that on this project, I was responsible for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's another thing that I did. And then always also try keep your CV concise. You don't need a 5-page CV and all those things. If you can get it down to 2 pages or even 4 pages, but obviously as you develop and as you grow, it becomes a bit more. Like my current CV now, it's pink. And not to say I like pink, but I just decided why not have pink? It's the brightest color I could find that day, and I just felt very pinky. And I was applying towards my master's. So I chose a bright color that if the person receiving my CV or receiving a bunch of CVs, once they see that pop of color, they'll be interested to see what is it about. I made sure that all my names were clearly shown. And personally, for me, also in terms of CVs, because there's a lot of crime going around, I don't put my ID number on it and I don't put my address. I just state that I stay in this area. If they want that information, they will get it from me. So that was, what I did when I applied for the job. It's just that I spruced it up a bit. I Googled to find out what are the latest templates. I downloaded a free one and uploaded it. It was very concise. I did not have a covering letter. I gave a brief biopsis of who I am. What is it that I do? What is it that I'm interested in? where I studied, and my latest qualification was at the top, followed by the rest, what interests me, what profession I'm in, what projects I've done, and that was it. So you always try to put your best foot forward, be concise, use color, make it short and sweet. So yeah, that's my CV for moving to AMCE. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Yankho. That was beautiful. I know Tafatwa is dying to chip in as well, but I would allow him to just chip in after our guest from Swaziland, Sibongile. If you could please welcome, I would like to welcome you back on stage. And if you could share about yourself a bit and run us through the crafting of an exceptional CV.
Okay, thank you, Sneh. So I am a civil engineer by profession, not professionally registered yet, but I'm currently working as the head of property development at Eswatini Housing Board. So my career kicked off in South Africa because I studied for my BSc Eng at WITS. I graduated in 2009, and I kicked off my career in a project, for an ESCOM project with at the time it was, what was I working with? Knight Pisold, yes. So I gained extensive site supervision and design experience on bulk infrastructure projects. So I worked for Knight Pisold, I worked for WSP, and then transferred to Oricon, which is now called Zutari. So these are all multinational and multidisciplinary CESA member firms. I actually got involved with CESA. I think at the time I was working in Bloemfontein with WSP. And I just loved the fact that I could connect with other engineers and other peers, you know, and just get to see how we can move the industry forward, you know, like just add our spice in there, because as you all know, it can just be one-dimensional unless we all chip in. I'm very fortunate to have had the exposure and experiences I've had over the years, and my involvement in property development space currently has broadened my horizons and deepened my appreciation for the impact that we engineers make in shaping our societies. My journey through the years has also ignited a passion to make a positive contribution to the career trajectories and work-life experiences of up-and-coming female engineers. And that's why I've launched my coaching practice with the ambitious goal of working with engineering professionals and firms to co-create work environments, teams, and cultures that make it possible for all personalities to thrive and shine and actually do their problem solving and engineering from their zones of genius. So that's me in a nutshell. So having started as a junior and having progressed to where I'm at now, I've had the opportunity to not only write CVs myself and have that CV speak for me in my absence and let the person have that interest to speak with me. I've also now am in a position where I'm receiving a lot of CVs, and so I believe I could actually shed some light and in terms of sharing tips that can help someone who's actually trying to craft a CV that will actually help them put their best foot forward. So just following on what Yankho said, I mean, Yankho shared a lot of beautiful and I would call them gold nuggets really, because no one tells you these things. So basically, I've found that people are scared to shine. They're scared to stand out and just, you know, let someone know from reading the CV why they would want to interact with them or why they would want to actually call them in and have an interaction and get to know them better. So please let me know in the chat if you'd like to know some more tips before I start sharing. More tips, please. Okay. So Kamu is the only one. Oh yeah, thanks. Excellent. Okay, I'll carry on. So just in a nutshell, I think a lot of us, or a lot of people, when they put together their CV, they'll put a CV and then send it to a lot of people. What we forget is that we need to try and personalize it and actually let it speak to the person you're sending it to. So what do I mean by that? So you can't really put a lot of things that speak to the recruiting firm in your CV, but what you can do is you can have that cover letter that accompanies your CV. And in that cover letter, that's the perfect space to actually personalize it and also make it speak to their values and actually highlight or draw the link between why you're the best fit for that company. So it takes a little bit of you need to investigate, try and find out more about the company so that whatever you put in your cover letter actually speaks to the values of the company. And if it is a specific role that you're actually applying for and not just sending, say, maybe with the hope that they're looking for someone with your skills, but if you're actually sending a CV for a specific role, what actually works is if you draw your strengths and maybe your skills and your talents and show how they apply to that specific role. So that's what I found for me when I read something like that, I immediately want to connect with the person. So what I would also like to share in terms of, so does everyone understand what the power of a cover letter? Please share in the chat. Okay. So what I'd also like you guys to think about is to look at your experience, right? And your experience outside of your day-to-day job. So there's the concept of transferable skills. So you may look at your current role and think, well, I don't think I could ever use what I'm doing in another field or in the next, in terms of career progression. But what's nice is that we all actually have gifts that we can transfer to all areas of our lives, okay? So when you're doing and putting your CV together, I'd just like for you to then actually think about highlighting the skills that you can transfer onto your next role. So looking at your experience and skills, what is it that you can transfer into your role? It may not necessarily be obviously something that one would want, but what is it that you, say for example, you're a mom. So moms are multitaskers. They coordinate the house, they coordinate they coordinate their lives, the children's lives, everyone's life in the family. That for me is someone that can lead a team. So you can highlight something as abstract as that and make sure that you can highlight how it actually adds value in the role that you're applying for. So does everyone understand that? Okay, thanks, Gamo. Okay, so, and then another thing that I think normally gets forgotten by people is things like spelling errors, the flow of your CV, the formatting, the fonts that you're using, the flow and the structure of the CV. That's very important because you do not want to overwhelm the person that's actually reading your CV. You want it to have a nice flow. The font mustn't be too small that it can't be read, or so there's, I don't know how to put it, but there are fonts that are acceptably professional fonts. So, and in trying to personalize it and make your personality shine, you just need to be aware also of the audience that will be receiving your CV. So your formatting and it is very important in that regard. So I think that could be it from me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sibongile. That was very informative. We appreciate it so much. I see people are engaging on the chat box. Thank you so much. I am now just going to quickly give Tafatwa just literally few seconds, Tafatwa, to just chip in on the topic. I know you were eager to comment.
Yeah, I see the time issue, but okay, let me be super brief. I think there was a point raised about nerves. So in my position now, I do carry out interviews and I recruit and appoint people quite a lot. We expect you to be nervous. There's nothing wrong with being nervous. And if it's necessary, if it helps you, admit to being nervous. That doesn't count against you in any way. It just shows that you recognize the importance of the opportunity. And if anything, if I see that you value the opportunity more, then I have to be more interested in hearing what you've got to say. And then I'll give you an example. There was a young man who came for an interview with myself. And because of his circumstances, he had to obviously use taxis. He came from Soweto all the way to Pretoria East. And there was delays along the way. And in the delays, he made sure he kept us abreast of the fact that he was going to be late, but he was trying his best to make it on time. Now, in his mind, I was fairly certain that he thought that's the end. There's nothing I can do if I'm late. But he persisted. And to be honest with you, because of the way he was professional about making sure that we were abreast of the fact that he is running late and he was trying his best to make it, and the reasons behind that, meant that when we met him, we already had an impression of him that, wow, he's very professional. Circumstances happen to anyone, and life happens, but at least he knows how to deal with things in a professional way. So sometimes when you come up against those obstacles that make it seem like this job, I'm never going to get it because of what's happening, don't accept defeat. Do whatever it takes to prepare and present yourself as best you can, no matter what, and you never know what will come out of that. And then I think I saw that 10% of the people on the call are students and or unemployed. And I think one of the things you've got to do, especially in that cover letter, and when you do get that interview, is appeal for experience. Our industry has a very bad habit of not respecting people or not appointing people who can't show any experience. I think it's worthwhile making sure that in the moments you have, appeal for experience in a heartfelt way. It's worth it. You deserve an opportunity to have experience, even if you've never had it. Even if you've worked in a place that hasn't allowed you to have proper experience, appeal for that experience. And we will appreciate that as employers because it shows you have a hunger to learn and to work hard. And ultimately, that's really what we're looking for. And then my last tip, what I do when I'm going for interviews, visualize the interview. You know, there's certain questions that will come up. And I think we were being told back up yourself in what you know. The only things I actually want to know about in that interview is about you. And there's no one in the world who knows more about you than you do. So don't be scared about what it is we'll ask. Rehearse. Think about it. What is it that's interesting about me? What can I tell you that will tell you what is really at the core of my heart and what drives me and what motivates me? If I see a genuine person across the table from me who actually wants this job, I am more than happy to employ you because I know what I'm getting. If I can't figure you out in those 30 minutes to 1 hour, I have to ask questions which I can't answer, and that makes it hard for me to appoint. So try and put yourself out there as best you can. A little bit of vulnerability and doesn't go wrong, and you'll have a chance. And don't forget to fight your corner and appeal for that chance, even if you have to sound like you're seriously after this thing. I think we would appreciate that more than people who come in and try and act too calm and too cool when you're really desperate for that work and that opportunity. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Tafatwa. That was so heartwarming. You know, it's given me so much hope, and I can see from the comments and the people in the chat box that people have gained so much hope just from what you are saying and from what Sibongile has shared and what Makhethi has shared and all of you guys that have shared. I will now like us to just go in quickly to see what's happening in our chat box. The discussions are heating up, and thank you so much to our panelists. I see questions coming in and they are addressing questions as and when they come in. This is going to save us time because we are almost at 4 o'clock and we still have some line items on the agenda. So Yankho has addressed the comments there about the CV being colorful. So in order for us to save time, please look at the chat box, see what people have asked and see the responses as well. Just to save time, but I will just read in just a few, okay, because we have this time allocated for the session. There's a message that came through directly to Tafatwa saying, Tafatwa, would you advise someone to go straight into the Would you advise someone to go straight into the consultancy firms after graduating, or one should start from operations to learn more about engineering space? In essence, I would like to find out whether in consulting they do engineering work, or is it focused on engineering management? And that was sent directly to Tafatwa, which I believe he had later on responded on to. And we had another comment, which was from Yankho, from a participant directed to Yankho, saying, Yankho, I heard from one session platform that one can only make use of colorful CV when applying for graphic design related opportunity. Is that still the case even now? And Yankho happily replied, saying, I beg to differ. I'm not saying have a CV that looks like a Mozart bursting with colors, but it is okay to have a resume that has a touch of color. Remember, you want to stand out using color, and using color is one of the ways. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, Tapata also said, I was asked if consulting engineer is hands-on, and his response is saying when it is being done comprehensively, consulting engineering requires you to get into the detail of requirements of infrastructure. You have to be able to do the calculations and effectively simulate reality in order to assess your designs before you have others construct them. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Yankho and Taf are just serving us here on the chat box. And here Clay is agreeing to the comments, saying a lot of interviewers want you to do well as much as you gain. Also, Yankho had said in interviews, you'll be surprised how the panel will try to aid you to calm down. As Taf indicated, they are humans and aware you are nervous. So if you could please just, Yankho is saying, also just to add on Taf's comments, have an opinion and do not be afraid to disagree or stand your ground on it. Be professional though about it. Thank you so much, Yankho, for that. And yeah, I believe the questions have been addressed on the chat box, so we may proceed with our agenda. Is there anybody wants to say anything?
Yes, it's me. Sorry, just to maybe add on a bit to the last comment. When I said have an opinion, the reason why I'm saying that with my last post as well, when I went for my interview, I ended up being taken in is because we had a disagreement about a certain topic and he had an opinion and I differed and I stood my ground on it. And he said, if you were impressionable and just agreed with me, I would have told them that, no, you're not a right fit. So hence I'm saying that you can have an opinion and it can differ, but be professional about how you differ about it. You know, someone can raise the opinion and you can professionally say, I hear what you're saying, but in my own personal view, I think 1, 2, 3. So that's what I mean when I say you can have an opinion and differ and stand your ground, but be professional. Don't be rude about it. Just politely say, I'm hearing what you're saying, but this is my viewpoint. And at the end of the day, you can agree to disagree. And when I left that interview, I told him, I'll see you when I come on and we can talk about it further. And I did come on board because of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Yankho, for sharing that. Also, we just received a comment from Variety saying, thank you, Taf. The hunger we have as young graduates, but it's not recognized by employers. I have a question from comments that has a few questions from Botlale saying, thank you so much to all our panelists. I would like to ask if it is necessary to add a photo of myself in the CV. This comes up a lot. I see a lot of people generally would ask about that. And she continues with the comment saying, I have over a year of experience in bulk water supply schemes, sewer design infrastructure, and a bit of experience in dams. Where does my experience position me in the industry? Am I still considered as a graduate engineer? How likely am I to get permanent employment? On my panelists, I don't know if Taf, you would like to take that, or Yankho?
Oh, not Makhethi. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, Makhethi,
I think Makhethi must take it.
Makhethi, maybe you can go.
No, I wasn't an option, Taf. I was not an option. Okay, thank you, Taf. So what I want to say there is whether you're considered as an immediate graduate or someone with sufficient experience for a certain role is all dependent on you, right? Because when you are looking for work, we must get out of this habit of anything in my industry, because when you apply for anything, it means you're going to apply so much work in looking for work everywhere, which does not work, right? So when looking for work, you must decide first, what work are you looking for? Define the what, right? Are you looking for entry level? Are you looking for supervisory? Are you looking for entry level management? What are you looking for? And exactly what practices, right? What's your role, envisioned role? Then thereafter, it's easier for you to go into the big ocean of jobs that are available or not available, which are conversation for another day. Do contact me. I'm ready for that conversation. And then you go looking for the work and the opportunities that meet your what you are looking for. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that you are the one that should answer yourself where that places you. Because now, if you're going to ask us where that places you, we must now answer you as people that are looking at your CV that has these 2 pointers that you have here. But now here's the magic. Yes, guys, I'm going to use that word. So here's the magic. The magic is when you put your CV together, because you've decided that you want to be considered as someone who's suitable for a job, to be considered as high above just an immediate graduate, your CV should tell us that, right? Because you remember what you're looking for. So your CV cannot look like someone who just graduated. All right, and a lot goes into that in terms of how you say the roles you participated in, how you mention the skills that you have. It's not just a matter of just bullet point listing the skills. If you bullet point list the skills, I immediately think you just straight clean, fresh from university graduates. So how you put your CV together is informed by what you're looking for, so that we look at you as the person you want us to look at you. That will then put you in a position for us to call you for an interview, so that you can let us know what you're bringing there. So this is something that you need to answer based on taking a few steps back and answering, what am I looking for? Because that will inform how you formulate your CV. Because this information that you've given here, these 2 points, right? Three different people can actually put this on their CV. Someone who's saying, it's not that long ago that I came from university. That's their attitude to their job search, and that's how they're going to communicate it. Someone who's saying, actually, with these 2 years or 3 years experience, these two roles that I was functioning in, I brought so much value. It's way more than someone who just has 2 years experience, and I'm going to display this value that I brought in the way I position my CV and my covering letter. And a third person who says, because of the skills I got from doing this, I'm suitable to manage a section of whatever, and I'm going to communicate that accordingly in my covering letter and my CV. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Makhethi. That was very informative. I don't want to, I'm sorry that I didn't count you in on that, but when I just call out a few people's names, you are also included in that. I hope I didn't offend you. I don't know if if that has been answered
If I can,
sufficiently, or do you want to add, Tav?
so what we count as experience depends on whether it's experience. So one thing I have seen when I do interviews with people is, if you say you've got experience in something, my expectation immediately is that experience is coming from you having then interrogated the work to a certain degree. Now, unfortunately, and I think it's a reality of our industry, you may have seen certain work being done. You may have contributed to certain work being done, but it won't always count as experience if you have seen or contributed, unless you've done. Now, a lot of graduates struggle in our business to have the opportunity to actually get their hands dirty. So what you've got to do, especially where you're in a scenario where you're getting exposure, but not hands-on exposure, is show an interest that when I start interrogating what you've seen as experience, you can quite clearly say to me, no, I haven't done it myself, but in having seen it being done, I realize that these are the key considerations and the things to worry about. And those come from you extending yourself beyond just an observer in that situation. Even if the people around you don't want you involved in a real way, don't just be a passive observer. I always say to guys who I work with, you must steal with your eyes, because when you move to me and you want to work with me, I want you to come with things that other people have taught you. That's what I want. I want you to have stolen with your eyes and seen everything that they're doing and taken notes and gone home and studied it and maybe even gone back the next day and said, but I saw you guys doing this thing and you were actually doing it wrong because when I checked yesterday, it goes like this, like this, like this. And if you steal those things and you come to me in an interview, I can tell you've got them. So experience, whether the interview says 7 years, whatever, you can work 7 years and I can quickly tell within a few minutes whether those 7 years are good years or not, just depending on whether you're prepared to take information that's in front of your eyes when you're working.
Thank you so much, Tef. And as we are just talking and going through the information that you're sharing us, people are just commenting one way they are feeling your response. Thank you so much. And I am saying big ups to Makhethi, big ups to Tef. Thank you for that. And I would like us now to just move on our agenda. We are now going to talk about be active, be part of the inclusion and diversity. I have Claire who will run us through that, along with Sibongile. Claire, the stage is yours. Can we show some love for Claire?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction again. Yeah, and I just want to say thanks to everyone for sharing such great tips. I think we've been talking a lot about interviews. And so I guess what I want to share is a bit more around, so if you are working at a job, you know, how do you stretch yourself? How do you get involved in things beyond your normal work? And so I get a lot of kind of juniors or graduates who say, you know, they're working on something, but they struggle to get noticed. Like if you're in a big company, it can be difficult to stand out. And so I thought I'd just share a little bit about my journey and some tips. I started as an engineer at Hatch in 2010. I've been there 11 years now. I started as a grad and I started in electrical and electronic engineering. I'm professionally registered. And a couple of years ago, I was asked, someone mentioned to me that they had some trouble with our employment equity statistics. They wanted some data analysis done, and so I volunteered. To do some analysis, and when I finished the work, I gave it back to them, and they were really excited. And I thought, you know, this is really interesting. This is really interesting stuff. And so about a few months later, they remembered that I'd done this, and they asked me to be the chair for our company's diversity and inclusion committee. Now, this has nothing to do with engineering. This is not my job, but I decided to say yes. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a really great initiative. We have in engineering, we have a lot of challenges around diversity and inclusion, making people really engage at work. And so I said yes. And so I guess my tip today and what I wanted to mention to everyone is there's a lot of other initiatives when you start at a company. And sometimes it can seem like things that are just taking you away from your job, or it's extra hours you maybe don't want to put in. And I guess my advice to everyone would be, don't see it like that. You know, be open to opportunities that are beyond your day-to-day work, that are beyond what you normally consider as your job. You know, get involved with those kind of things, speak up, take part in those things, take the initiative, ask for extra roles. And I guess the reason for that is some of these things put you in direct contact with more senior people beyond what you normally do as an engineer. You know, we started interacting because of the diversity and inclusion journey. We started interacting with, you know, the CEO of the company in a multinational, and so it really helps you get an understanding of how the business is run. And just coming back to what some of the other speakers have said around those transferable skills, you know, that's something that you can take to another company. You could say, look, yes, I'm a confident and a competent engineer, but I'm also, you know, so much more than that, and I'm involved in all these other aspects of the business. So that's really what I wanted to share around getting involved and staying active in your companies. Yeah, thanks. I guess over to the other speaker on this topic.
Yes, thank you so much, Claire. I see everybody's just loving your discussion. As you can see, the comments are just popping. We appreciate that so much. Sibongile, is there something you'd like to share as well?
Oh, yes, thank you. Well said, Claire. Actually, so my story was going to go the same way, But what I'm going to do is just maybe add another layer on that. Because what I also did is when I was working with WSP, I was also involved in the initiatives that were actually focused on younger engineers. And so it's called Task Force. And that actually opened up the door for me in terms of interacting with other engineers from other industries, because they were outside of my immediate team and I wouldn't have had those interactions with them. So I'd also get exposed to the group CEO, you know, so that level of exposure doesn't happen if you just put your head down and do your work and don't get involved. So, and I know that it actually, for most of us, it takes getting out of your comfort zone, you know, being uncomfortable. And maybe that could be you identifying it as an area of growth, okay? So, and you never know what kind of opportunities can open up from that. And that can be something, actually, it is something that you put in your CV. And whoever then reads your CV in the future thinks, wow, this is someone I want on my team. So just open up your eyes and actually take advantage of those opportunities. But one other thing that I'd like to highlight to everyone is that, so in doing that, you then get introduced to people that can mentor you and people that can sponsor you. Now, sponsors are different from mentors because sponsors are people that are in your organization and are sitting in higher positions and are actually involved in conversations that can influence and can actually open doors for you. Now, if you're not having those, how do you put it? If you're not having those interactions and letting your qualities and your star qualities shine, they won't have anything to say about you. But if you've had the opportunity to interact with them and they've seen how you handle yourself, then they'll have something to say. And they can actually say, why isn't this opportunity not being given to Claire? Because I've seen Claire doing things like this. And that's how doors open up. Because if you just put your head down and do what you're here to do, what your employment contract says you should do, then I guess that's just a narrow path to not getting anywhere. So that's it from me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to weigh in
Thank you
there
so
for a
much.
second and say 100% for the sponsorship and mentorship. It's a key thing when you start working. Absolutely. Thanks. Sorry, Cordelia.
Not a problem, Claire. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Swangile. Also, I'd like to bring in Yankho. Yankho, do you maybe want to share with us the benefits of participating in the YPF, perhaps?
Yes, definitely. I think I share the sentiments of Claire and Spongile. I mean, just going through most of the people here, most of them I wouldn't have connections to them if it wasn't for me putting my hand up and volunteering in an organization like CESA YPF. I mean, most of the time we look at the financial benefits, but there are other skill sets that you gain, which are like your soft skills, which is not something that you get taught at tertiary. If it wasn't for the YPF, I wouldn't be talking like this. When I started the YPF, I was very happy being in the background, not doing anything. But from platforms like YPF and getting opportunities to speak like this, I'd like to think I'm an eloquent speaker. You know, so it's by volunteering, just put your hand up there. And I mean, if you are not being part of the solution, then you have you can't complain. So just put your hand up. We're not saying that whatever we're trying to do will work, but it's worth a try. At least you know that you can say, I tried to do this and this was the outcome. And remember, I got a quote recently, which says that failing, the way to think of fail is a first attempt in learning. So you might fail, but you're learning. When you start again, you're starting from a point of experience. So now you know what went wrong and you build on that and so forth. So volunteering and getting involved and participating and putting your hand up is very critical. There are other skills that you learn. There's networking opportunities that you get exposed to that you will not get exposed to if you just come to the office, do what you need to do and go home. Be out there, be visible. I mean, the AMCE job, it came for me because I was an active member of the CESA YPF. Someone remembered me and they said, hey, we're looking for this person, get in touch with this person. And that's how it came about. So some of my opportunities, even meeting you, Cordelia and Makhethi, is through volunteerism. I met you through another contact of mine and look where we are today. So I totally agree with all the speakers, what they're saying today, that put your hand up there. Don't get comfortable. As Steph also said, comfort zones are danger zones. So don't get comfortable. Be uncomfortable. That's where you learn the most. Test yourself, push yourself, you know. So I totally agree. Volunteer, put your hand up. We don't charge anything to join us. Go to our website, CESA, and sign up to be a young professional. It's free. When we go back to level 1 and we can meet, we also give you food for free. So please engage with us, people. Thank you.
We also give you food for free. I'm sorry, guys. I
Yes.
had to laugh at that one.
No, I'm finished. I love that. Who doesn't love free food?
Oh.
Thank you so much, Yankho. That was beautiful. There is power in volunteering. I can testify to that with my own life. And, you know, sitting in the back and doing nothing, that should kill you. You should be sick from not doing anything voluntarily. Okay. So thank you so much, Yankho. I appreciate that so much. And I wanted to ask earlier, just on our participants that are here, like, we want to know more about you. Are you working in the same sector that you've always wished to work for? Are you happy? And is it the sector that you are qualified for? Let us know in the comments section. We want to know. We are eager to know if you are happy. How can we help you more? And, you know, we want to be there for you. CESA is here, and this initiative is great. So we're going to move on to the next question and answer session. I haven't looked at the chat box. I see Yankho is sharing some stuff. If you can just follow, she shared the CESA website. If you can follow, same on as Twitter and Facebook. Simiso is saying joined in a little late. Thank you, Simiso, for being here. Better late than never. He says, I've started. Okay, no, he started recording on his side, I think. So far, so good. I think there was somebody who was asking how we can access the recording. I don't know where I lost that. Oh, it was Nyasa saying, I joined a little late. How can we access the recording after the webinar? Thanks. Godfrey, I think if you can just enlighten us how people can get the recording, if you can just type in on the chat box. Yeah. And if I'm going further up, yeah, Tlatsokil, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, is saying this session is very informative and value adding. I wish we can have more time than the allocated 67 minutes. And Yankho is responding to that, saying we have another session in July. Check our social media sites. Great, yes. Okay, I got a notification saying the recording is going to be uploaded on CESA ETV. Thank you so much for that. And we are moving to our next line on the agenda. Please keep the questions and comments coming. We appreciate it. And also let us know how are you feeling about the session. Is it are you gaining what you had hoped to gain? Are the panelists serving you? If there's anything that you want to know more, please type it in. That's the only way we will know how to help you further. Now we are on to the next line of agenda, saying conventional and expanded engineering roles. This could include expanding skills to other professions and entrepreneurships. I am going to bring Tafatwa on stage to talk about that in just a few seconds. Claire can also join in after Tafatwa, and also Makhethi. We are well over our 67 minutes. It is now 16:20, and we are hoping to end the session maybe at 4:30. Thank you so much, Tafatwa. Tafatwa, are you ready to come on stage for us?
I could do that. So sorry, it broke up. I didn't hear the intro you just done.
Oh, we are on conventional and expanding engineering roles. This could include expanding skills to other professions and entrepreneurship. Do you want to take that now, or should I let Claire go first?
Okay, Claire can start and then I'll come back in. That's fine.
Stage is yours, Claire.
Sure. Okay. All right. So I guess I mentioned a little bit earlier about some of the work I do with the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, but actually I guess the more interesting thing from my side is that as I said, I studied electrical and electronic engineering. I worked in control and automation for about 8 years on various different projects. So I mean, the way Hatch is set up is we do different projects. So we do engineering on different topics and projects, and interestingly enough, there is quite a big gap between what you study in electrical and electronic engineering and control and automation engineering. And so I guess that's the first thing about expanded roles is that it's not always a case that you're going to work in something that you've directly studied. And I think everyone should be prepared and okay with that. Companies are, they expect to train you when you join, especially as a grad. And then recently I moved to Hatch. Our company started a new department entirely called Digital. And we're really servicing a lot of our clients who are moving towards more digital solutions, more software kind of stuff, or, we do a lot of infrastructure for digital mines, for example. And so I guess that's just another thing is when you start working, there's a requirement to learn forever. You don't stop learning just because you stop studying. And so it's really a tip to be open to new opportunities, even if they're not in line with what you studied or if they're tangentially related. And kind of, don't think, I guess, too narrowly. There's a lot of new developments in engineering that are happening all the time. So that's really my 2 cents. Tafadzwa, do you want to dial in?
Yeah, I can pick up, especially from that point you're making around the opportunities you end up coming across during a normal engineering career are really interesting in the sense that if you look left and right, you'll find you'll have peers who maybe, as Makhethi is saying, haven't built their own confidence to the point where they can take on things that are outside of what they know. So I think part of it is not being changed to your experience. So when you say I'm an experienced engineer and I know how to do these things, those are the things you already know how to do. What are the new things you're going to know how to do? Because that would sort of dictate how your career evolves, the kinds of responsibilities you'll start to pick up in the workplace. And a lot of them have to be tangential to the standard work you do and over and above the standard work you do. So the interesting thing about especially consulting engineering, but I think any business, is that there's a core thing that we do in our businesses. And everything else is sort of non-core, which means very few people dedicate themselves to doing those things. But that's where the opportunity lies because no one else is filling that space. And if you take that space and become the person who does the analytics on inclusion and diversity, or in the case that I've recently had where I wasn't satisfied with how our business was doing in terms of how we are incorporating technology in our product offering, and you raise the question, you can end up with a new job that you might not be equipped for, but you are the volunteer, the person who's most willing, and that creates opportunities that would not normally exist. So I think really just always be aware of those opportunities, and I can't overstate the value of learning. So maybe as an example, I'll use myself. I think earlier this month I wrote hopefully what's the last exam in a degree that I've had to add because I wanted to know more. On Monday I write an exam for a course that I'm doing because I want to know a little bit more. Because what I studied and what I learned, and I still remember all of it, isn't quite enough to do the things that I think need to be done in our business. So there's always things that you're going to have to be prepared to pick up and understand. And then the other part of the question is around entrepreneurship, which in my mind, I think there's a lot of discussion and appetite in our industry around people starting their own businesses, getting into the entrepreneurial space, whether it is in the technical fields of engineering itself or side gigs and other stuff. And again, going back to my idea about stealing with your eyes, the interesting thing is when you work for somebody else, you are in a business. Now, what you're doing every day is only a small part of what that business does, but you still have the opportunity to steal with your eyes about what it takes to have and run a business. And I often feel, I think it's a thing that's happening in our country right now, where people believe the opportunity to be an entrepreneur is an easy alternative. But the reality is, being a business person is a profession, just like engineering is, but it's one that you probably haven't gone to school to study. So you're going to have to figure out a way to fill in all of the knowledge gaps that you have if you decide you want to be an entrepreneur of any kind, even if it's engineering, because business itself is a profession and it has tactics, skills, capabilities, and competencies that are necessary for you to be very good at it. But I think if you start from the premise that you are a business, so every day of the week I go to Begin and I sell my time, I'm going to give them at least 8 hours. But more importantly, I'm going to give them a certain kind of value that I believe they should compensate me for. Every end of the month, I should get a check, and that should be full compensation for the value I've added. If anything, I usually advise people that try not to ever get paid more than you're worth to the business you work for, because it creates a certain kind of security. But if I'm trading value, I should also be able to assess and observe what value is in other things and in other places. And ultimately, being an entrepreneur is really about, can you identify an opportunity to create a value that you can transact with in exchange for what you want, which is whatever form of remuneration you choose. If you cannot sustainably create that value, the likelihood of your entrepreneurial activities sustaining you is going to be quite slim. But your ability to grow and to add and to create value grows with everything you learn. Anything you try, anything you experience, anything you fail at, all of those things amount to your ability to create value. So on the entrepreneurial question or the entrepreneurship question, I think you really do have to look at yourself and make sure that you're learning and preparing yourself and positioning yourself to be someone who generates value in a way that is transactable. Even if the business that you're running is Taf Mukwena pitching up at work on Monday mornings, make sure that you know and are able to create value, and pretty much I think the rest of your life will be sorted. Anyone of value in the world can always find a place to be. Yeah, roundabout way of answering the question, I think, but hopefully it's useful.
Certainly
It's
is
very
useful.
Oh, sorry, thought I was speaking. Go ahead.
No, it's you that is on the stage, Kethiwe. Thank you so much.
Okay, I was saying that it's very useful, Taf, because you asking us for feedback there, and it also speaks to one of the points that I have. So how I'm addressing this two-part topic is that I've got just 5 subtopics to jump into, and I'll do less than a minute each, right? So the first one is because I'm such a fan of development, right? The person first, the team, then the organization. I mean, I've been in development for many years. With that on the back of it, identify a basic helpful skill, right, that assists your main role. It could be something as simple as Excel, guys. It could be something as simple as Word document things that make things easier. It could be something as simple as how to make the entry parts of a site more conducive, you know, whatever it is, a basic helpful skill that assists you in your main role. Perfect that one skill and then trade it to your other co-workers, right? Because that shows that not only are you interested in development, but you're interested in development to benefit the organization that you're part of. That's one. And then 2, that speaks to what Tafazo said. My second point is see yourself in employment as a service provider to the business that has hired you. The business has hired you to play the role described on your CV, right? You are that service provider for that. So in practicing, for lack of a better term, to be an entrepreneur someday, if that's where you're headed, look at how well you're doing in terms of performing as a service provider within your employment role. How often can your employer or leaders in your employment environment tick all the boxes and say you've done a great job? How often are they not happy? And what do you do with that feedback? How do you accept feedback that says, great, you did well, keep going? How do you accept feedback that says, stop it, that's a load of grass that you're doing, that's not what we want you to do, change this, change that? Obviously, I hope they're kinder than that, but I hope you get the point, right? And then number 3, career development needs to be a personal project, right? And when career development is a personal project, you're not waiting for your leaders to constantly come back and say, I wish you would develop yourself in this, I wish you would have this skill, I wish you guys would be able to do this. Because career development is a personal journey for yourself, you know where you're going and you've decided what tools you need to get there. You will take it upon yourself to add those skills and tools that's needed to help you along your career development journey, right? And I don't know if Sneh or Godfrey will talk about the 2 sessions we have later this month about career development and career entry, something that I'm doing together with a career coach and myself as the confidence coach. And then point number 4, informal learning of skills. I want to focus on the most in closing is look at skills that are available around you, right? So you see what I said you must do in the first part, where you perfect a basic additional skill and then you give it to everybody else, you share it within the organization. Now you're on the other side. Look at someone that is skilled in simplifying concepts or whatever and go and ask them to show you how to too, right? And that's where I'll leave it. Because of time. Thank you, Sneh.
Thank you so much, Makhethi. That was very informative. I thought you were going to share about the sessions that we have.
Yeah, sure. I can go for it. So on the 23rd and the 30th of June, 5:30 p.m. until 7 p.m., CESA is hosting myself, your confidence coach, as well as Tandega career coach, to give you the career coaching combo. So on the 23rd is career entry from both of us, the coaches, and then on the 30th is career development once you've already started the career. So please follow CESA on all their social media platforms because they will be posting details on that from this week. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And I will be hosting those 2 events. Yay. I'm excited about those 2 that are coming up. Thanks again, Ketiwe. If we could just go through to our chats. I see we have some chats that have come through. And as you can see in the chat box, CESA is sending out dates of events that they have for the future. Please, be definitely worth your while. Okay, I have a comment here from, let's see, I have one from Celiwe. Celiwe is saying, hi, can we take 2 minutes to touch on applicant tracking software? Do we put things in bulletin points on CVs? I don't know on our panelists who would like to answer that. Sibongile or Makhethi, anyone?
Okay, I'll try answer as best as I can. I personally have never used the applicant tracking software, so I have nothing to add on that. But just on the bullet points, so it depends on the formatting. I'd probably have to see an example of what it is that the bullet points is actually speaking to or applying to. So it's a very difficult question to answer unless we're looking at actually an actual example to dissect or give feedback on.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sibongile. That's okay. Ketiwe is unfortunately having have to leave the session. She has left her contact details. If you can just say goodbye to Ketiwe. And as I'm going through here, more chats. Okay, we have one comment from Simiso. He says, I don't know, maybe it's a topic for another day. However, maybe we should look at how much graduates actually learn from mentors who are assigned to them when seeking in-service training. It is a very fundamental part and plays a huge role in the upcoming professional, for example, like myself as a graduate from University of Technology, in-service training is required before you actually graduate now through experience, although I won't mention the company I worked for, but it's more likely just a mere fact of filling in the logbook and having it signed off and be given admin work for days on end, and it's too demoralizing to be honest. But anyways, hopefully someday, be it you in consulting or construction, our mentors, professional engineers must really understand the importance of the role they play in the upcoming professionals or graduates. I feel that